It's been a minute, but it's time to give you some updated Dynasty running back rankings. Now, here's what I'll say before we dive into it. It is very difficult to update Dynasty rankings in season. Everything is so fluid, things change so quickly, but I'm here doing my best to give you a little update. Let's start with tier numero uno. All right, we've got 4 running backs in this tier. Can you guess who those 4 are? Well, first one for me is Jahmyr Gibbs. The second one for me is Bijan Robinson. And then the third is Breece Hall. And then the fourth is Devon Achane. Look, I totally get it. If you're out on Devon Achane, you think he's too small, you think he's too injury prone. But we saw workhorse Devon Achane in the first 2 weeks with Tua tags, and that was the definition of a league winner. Where would you rank Devon Achane right now if Tua never went out with that injury? Well, in the first 2 weeks, Devon Achane was averaging over 26 PPR points per game, and it wasn't just off of efficiency, it was off of volume as well. Remember, in week 1, we saw Achane with 17 touches, including 7 targets, and in week 2, he touched the ball 29 times, including 7 targets. I mean, guys, think about this. We were on pace with Tua as the quarterback to see 119 targets for Devon Achane through 2 weeks. I don't want to be too reactionary in Dynasty. I want to try and keep as a level head as I can. And I fully project and anticipate this offense having Tua tags for, the next couple years. So Achane going to be up there in that tier 1 for me. I think that top 3, right, with Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, and Breece Hall, I can totally see you guys making an argument for either one of those names, right? It's been a rough start for Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall, right? These two guys, let's start with Bijan here. So Bijan starts off the year great. They say they want to use him like CMC, and that's exactly what we saw in week 1 for Bijan Robinson. But then the next 5 weeks in a row, we're starting to see Tyler Algier eat into his workload. So Tyler Algier's opportunities go from 3 to 10 to 7 to 10 to 9 to 19. In week 6, the most recent week of the NFL season, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier were split on carries. Now, I think that had more to do with, or touches rather, sorry. I think that had more to do with the fact that they were facing the Carolina Panthers. But so far through 6 weeks, Bijan Robinson is averaging 17.5 touches per game. Algier is right under 10 touches per game. So it's something to monitor moving forward. Maybe it's because of that injury that he's been dealing with that's been nagging him over the last couple weeks, but still going to put him in this top tier. He can be your RB1. That's fine with me. Breece Hall, another name where it started off pretty rough, especially if you drafted him in a redraft league, but we started to see this emergence of Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen, let's look at Braylon Allen's touches per week. 2, then 11 in the breakout week 2, then 14. And since that time, we've actually come back down to earth. In weeks 4, we had 9 touches. In week 5, we had 7 touches. And then recently this week, Breece Hall finishes with 24 touches. So it looks like the coaching change has been very friendly for Breece Hall. Let's hope that trend continues. But for me, with Jahmyr Gibbs, I just think we've had a couple outlier games for him. We've had 2 games for Jahmyr Gibbs this year out of 5 where he had 0 targets. That is not a common trend for Jahmyr Gibbs, a guy who was top 5 in targets last year. And in the other games, we saw 5, 6, and 7 targets for him. Behind that offensive line and that offense, he just feels like the safest guy on a weekly basis to me. But again, you can make an argument for any of these names in my personal opinion. All right, in tier 2, let's start it off with Saquon Barkley. What a redemption tour it is for Saquon Barkley in the color Kelly green. It's great to see him doing his thing in Philadelphia. Crazy how good Saquon can be behind a good offensive line in a good offense, right? It's just mind-blowing that this all-world talent can really do his thing. Look, in Dynasty football, we try to value running backs, at least what we used to say, in a 3-year window. But with the running back position, we're more pushing that towards a 1 or 2 year window. Every single year, the running back position is changing. It's so fluid. So for right now, Saquon Barkley would lead this tier 2, followed by Jonathan Taylor, has a long-term contract in the offense. I know he's dealing with an injury, but he looked very good before that injury. And in a world where so many backfields are split, he is getting workhorse usage, and that is just so rare. Same can be said with Kyren Williams. What we anticipated for Blake Corum so far has not happened. It has been Kyren Williams' backfield through and through, averaging more than a touchdown per game. And I do believe personally that Blake Corum, I believe his role will grow over the course of this season. Friendly reminder, guys, if you go look at Kyren Williams' rookie year, he wasn't really used at all. I know he dealt with injuries, but they were pretty much riding Cam Akers even when he was healthy. This is not uncommon to see a running back that kind of has to wait its turn in a McVay offense. So clearly they love Kyren Williams. I'm not telling you not to value Kyren Williams. I'm not telling you to be afraid of him long term. All I'm saying is I do think Blake will have a more important role over the next couple years. So I can't put Kyren Williams much higher than this, but man, he is such a superstar right now. We might be entering his Austin Eckler era, if you will. And then Ken Walker. What a year for Ken Walker. And it's great because when Ken is healthy, Zach Charbonnet is almost irrelevant. We literally just saw a game where Ken had a career high in receptions with 8. I mean, I started JSN in that game, yet Kenneth Walker had more receptions than JSN. It was frustrating, but I mean, this is great for Ken Walker owners out there. Charbonnet is irrelevant. Charbonnet is a definition of a backup. And again, in a world where there's so many split backfields, it's great to see they're willing to give Walker all of the work, including work through the air. And that is a newer trend in this Ryan Grubb offense. That's definitely something that I want to be a part of, and I'm hoping that those trends continue. He had 8 targets this week, 8 targets a week before, 5 targets a week before. I mean, he hasn't had under 3 targets in any single game, and he's averaging over 6. It's great to see that usage for Ken Walker. Super talented player, and we know he can overcome most matchups. James Cook, the entire identity of the Buffalo Bills offense completely changed this offseason, right? And in fact, it actually changed last season when they changed their play caller over to Joe Brady. This team became from a pass funneled offense to a run funnel offense. And James Cook is benefiting greatly from that. He is that dude. Funnily enough, I'm recording this right after we saw Ray Davis go ham on Monday Night Football. So we'll see. I mean, James Cook owners out there got to be crossing their fingers that this doesn't become a split backfield. But the reality is James Cook is probably going to continue to be their starter when he's healthy in an offense that is focused really around running the ball. He's a great asset to have long term. All right, moving on to tier 3. The first player we'll talk about is Christian McCaffrey. Oh my gosh. What the hell do you do with Christian McCaffrey if you have him in Dynasty Football? Well, here's the thing. If you own Christian McCaffrey and you're competing, you better just hold. When Christian McCaffrey comes back, I wholeheartedly believe that he will be the workhorse in this offense. I think they'll feed him targets. And honestly, you can tell with this Niners offense that they're missing Christian McCaffrey. Jordan Mason's doing well, but he is not Christian McCaffrey. And the defense does not focus on your running back when it's not Christian McCaffrey the same way they would when it was. But look, 28 years old, getting up there in age. The reality is, and we said this before the season, Christian McCaffrey will never be more valuable today than he is in Dynasty Football. Like from here on out, it will only be downhill trends because of his age, because of his usage, because of the workload he's had throughout his career. That's just a reality. But if you're a contender, you should hold. And if you are a contender, maybe you should buy. I mean, can you go get him super cheap as a contender? And if you're 5-1 right now in the league and wait for him to come back and win your Dynasty League, maybe. It might be a bad, not half bad idea. All right, moving on to David Montgomery, who just got an extension through 2027. He will be an integral part of this offense for the entirety of the time I care about Dynasty, right? Again, we're trying to play in 1 to 3 year windows. David Montgomery is a stud running back for the next couple years, and you probably drafted him really cheap in startups, and you got him in affordable trades, and you're looking like an absolute genius doing so. All right, let's talk about Jonathan Brooks. Not gonna lie, I'm getting a little concerned because Chuba Hubbard has turned into a damn superstar overnight. I mean, where has this been from Chuba Hubbard? Was this his 4th year in the NFL? I can't remember, 3rd or 4th year, and out of nowhere, he's playing like one of the best running backs in the league. A little bit concerning, but still, you have to hold on to the fact that this team drafted him in the 2nd round. We all loved him as a prospect, so that's what I'm holding on to at this moment. Josh Jacobs, look, it's been pretty disappointing for Josh Jacobs so far, and I have to be honest, if I had him in Dynasty, I wouldn't be loving my shares right now, especially considering Marshawn Lloyd hasn't even been healthy yet. He's going to mess up this backfield as well, so I'd be very cautious with him moving forward. A new addition to Tier 3, Brian Robinson. I'm sorry. How is Brian Robinson not more valued in Dynasty Football? What else do you want from Brian Robinson, guys? Hear what I'm saying when I say this next statement, okay? I'm saying as a fantasy asset right now, he is basically Walmart Derrick Henry. I did not just compare him as a player to Derrick Henry. I compared what he can give you in fantasy to Derrick Henry. And why am I saying that? Because he's a part of an offense that is so good, he's going to get at least 2 goal line opportunities a game. That's what it feels like with Brian Robinson right now. And we just watched this team versus the Baltimore Ravens. It was so obvious that they missed B-Rob. He is playing so well. He looks so good. He looks so dynamic in the open space. He's a great pass catcher. I mean, this guy has met and exceeded every expectations I've ever had for him. And we're talking about a Washington offense that right now is one of the best offenses in the NFL. I mean, guys, they rarely punt. They're almost always in the red zone. They're always on the goal line. And Brian Robinson is their preferred back in those scenarios. He might have 15 touchdowns this year. It's not crazy to say that. He's a young back. I just feel like, why would we not have him ranked this high? And then Trey Benson to finish off. Look, I get it. If you have Trey Benson, you haven't seen the result of your labors just yet. You haven't seen what you've wanted to just yet. But at the time of recording this, James Conner is dealing with an ankle injury. So maybe it's Trey Benson's opportunity to go out and show what he can do. Here's the good news. When Trey Benson has had opportunities, he's done really well with those opportunities. In week 1, 3 attempts over 4 yards per carry. In week 4, 9 attempts, 50 yards, over 5.5 yards per carry. Just this last week versus the Packers, had 5 attempts over 5 yards per carry. He looks dynamic. He looks explosive. The juice is there. And I still think he's a long-term replacement. So in Dynasty, I don't see a reason to devalue him considering James Conner has no contract beyond this year. All right, moving into tier number 4. We've got some veterans in here like Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry. These are the guys that you ride until the wheels fall off. They're going to give you proven production until they don't. Now, you have to decide when that cliff is, but if you have these guys, you're probably competing. If you're not competing, you probably don't want to roster them. Isaiah Pacheco is a really interesting name, right? Because that injury that he dealt with is a very difficult injury to come back from. And even when you come back from that injury, you're not the same player for, about 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. So I don't know exactly how to value him, especially when the running back class coming up looks pretty good. I'm not sure how the Chiefs will value him long-term either because he has no long-term deal. Tony Pollard looks so good. Tony Pollard last year, it took him so long to get back to his old form, but from week 11 onwards in 2023, he was PFF's highest rated rusher. And this year he looks so good, so explosive. Tajay Spears is not a problem like we thought he might be. And that might change over the course of the season. But right now, he looks like a guaranteed start each and every week. Ramondre Stevenson, a little up and down season, but I actually feel like with Drake May starting now, that this offense can be much better, which is going to benefit him. He's got the long-term deal, which is great. But just this week, the Patriots had a season high in points with 21. Before that, they were averaging about 11 points per game. The offense was so stagnant. And still, Stevenson was decent in fantasy football. What happens when he's starting for this team and the offense is actually good? That is so exciting to me to think about. DeAndre Swift started off so poorly, was averaging like 1.6 yards per carry through 3 weeks, and then it completely shifted from week 4 onwards. Not only did he become more efficient, they used him in the air, and the identity of the Chicago Bears offense completely changed. If you look at the first half to the second half of the season so far, this team went from a pass-happy to a run-happy offense, completely built around the run game. Let's see if that trend continues going forward. And then Joe Moneybag Mixon, who has a 3-year contract technically with the Houston Texans. Very good offense. He's looked so good. Again, the definition of a workhorse in an era where that's so rare. And they do have an out after this year, but if he keeps playing well, I don't see why they would take that out. All right, moving into the 5th tier. Let's talk about Travis Etienne. I mean, look, I'll be 100% transparent with you guys. I have no idea how to value Travis Etienne in Dynasty. Quite frankly, if anybody out there is telling you they know how to value Etienne in Dynasty, I think they're lying to you. I think they're straight up lying to your face. I don't know what to do. First round talent, super talented guy, was pretty inefficient outside of this most recent week. Looked good, but was being outplayed by Tank Bigsby. The coaching staff is saying he's still our RB1. He's still our dude. And then we thought it was Tank Bigsby season this last week. And then Dearness Johnson was the guy. I mean, do we need Doug Peterson to get fired? Right? Is this a Breece Hall, Braylon Allen situation where you need Doug Peterson to get fired? I'm not comparing Etienne to Breece Hall. All right, calm down. But it's so confusing. There's rumors about him being traded. Honestly, at this point, get him the hell out of Jacksonville, right? Like, I prefer a trade. Have no idea how to value him. Here's what I know. If he ended up in free agency, I know he would get a deal. And that's what I'm holding on to. The talent, the efficiency when he's healthy, what he could be behind a good offensive line, and the potential of an offense change. So that's how I'm valuing him. I don't know, guys. It's really confusing. Next, we'll talk about Jordan Mason. Respectfully, I think he's a replaceable level talent. So I don't want to value him too heavily. I've had people send me offers where, they want a first round pick for Jordan Mason. No, I'm not even close to a first round value. Not even close, right? Chase Brown, downtown, he might actually need to be higher in the rankings here in the next couple of weeks. He is slowly taking over the RB1 role in Cincinnati. Let's hope that continues, and it's not just because Zach Moss was dealing with that injury, but over the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's gotten more carries, a higher percentage of the snaps, and it looks like he's the dude here soon, but I don't think Zach Moss is going to go away. J.K. Dobbins. Wow. What in the world? This is the first time we have ever seen a young running back recover from an Achilles tear and look so good. Now, I don't want to jinx him because we know J.K. Dobbins has a laundry list of injury history, right? So I don't want to jinx him, but man, he looks so damn good. He's in such a good offense for him, at least for him, and he's getting so many touches. He had 27 touches this last week. If he can stay healthy and get a long-term deal with this team, man, that would be such a fun story to think about. All right, we got Blake Corum next. Again, I'm trying to be patient with Blake Corum. I still think he's a very good prospect. I love the draft capital, and I think if it's not this year, next year, Blake Corum will get a larger role in this offense. All right, Bucky Irving is next. We loved Bucky Irving out of Oregon. We just didn't see how he would develop a role because he felt like such a similar player to Rachaad White. Now, oddly enough, every time Bucky Irving touched the ball, it's gold. Every time Rachaad White touches the ball, it's pretty mid. It's pretty rough, right? So I think at this point with Bucky, having the, longer contract with this team, they're both on rookie contracts, but Rachaad White's deal is ending sooner. I would value him more. I actually think he's the better player, quite frankly. Tyrone Tracy will be next. Look, I hope that the Giants let Tyrone Tracy cook. Please, free Tyrone. You better call on Tyrone. I mean, the guy looks so good. We really love this guy. One of our favorite sleepers in rookie drafts. Such a cool story. 6 years in college, 4 of them as a receiver. Then he transfers to be a running back his last 2 years, and he looks so good. I just hope that Devin Singletary doesn't come in and mess all this up when he's healthy, because it's probably going to be a split backfield, and that's why I can't rank him higher than that. And then Chuba Hubbard. Man, if there was no Jonathan Brooks on this team, Chuba Hubbard is probably in tier 3. I don't think that's crazy to say. Young player looking like a superstar, and maybe I'm ranking him too low. Why don't you guys let me know in the comments, because I have no idea how to rank Chuba Hubbard. All right, let's go through these last tiers a little bit quicker than we did the first 5. The 6th tier. This is a combination of young players and veterans, starting with James Conner. I don't think James Conner is a long-term option for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, could he enter free agency and be another team's option? Think about what happened to Aaron Jones last year. I think that's a possibility. Rachaad White, talented pass catcher, super inefficient on the ground. What does his future look like? I don't know. I don't want any part of it. Jalen Wright, we've seen how good he can be in short stints. I still think this is the long-term Raheem Mostert replacement, so I think it's a great time to buy Jalen Wright. Tank Bigsby has looked so good. I mean, through 5 weeks was the most efficient, dynamic, explosive player in the NFL, and it's funny because he was the complete opposite of that last year. If you look at 2023, I'm not making this up. In 2023, Tank Bigsby was the least efficient, least explosive, least dynamic running back in football. In 2024, he is the complete opposite. The dude looks like a superstar. It's crazy, but how are the Jags going to manage these two names? It's so hard to manage, and if Etienne gets traded, Bigsby's value will skyrocket. All right, let's talk about Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen is not a name that we were very high on this channel. I mean, full transparency, I'm not going to come on this video and lie to you. We weren't the biggest Braylon Allen fans, and then he goes to the Jets, and in our opinion, we were like, we're not going to draft much Braylon Allen. He's stuck behind Breece Hall. I just don't see a ceiling. And I'll be honest, he has looked much better than I thought he would in the NFL. I'll take my L on that. But I still don't see how anyone would be valuing him as a top 24 name or a league winner. Like, this is still a situation where Braylon Allen is going to need a serious injury to Breece Hall to drastically improve his dynasty value, at least in my rankings. Obviously, he's a very talented player, super dynamic, has a ton of juice. But at the end of the day, you are the A.J. Dillon to the Aaron Jones in this Aaron Rodgers-led offense. I don't know. I mean, when can you start this guy? I mean, you're excited that you drafted him and he looks good, but when can you put him in your lineup with expectation? I just don't see that happening. And this coaching change might make it even worse for Braylon Allen, who had, I think, just like 6 touches this most recent week with the coaching change. We'll have to monitor that. Javonte Williams. Man, it's been a roller coaster for Javonte Williams this season. Has been super inefficient. In the last couple weeks, has been really efficient, losing touches. They'll give Tyler Bidet a go. They'll give Jaleel McLaughlin a go. We haven't even seen Audric Estime healthy yet. I sold Javonte Williams in the offseason, every share I had of him, and I don't regret it. Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones was 5 years younger, he'd probably be in tier 2. But the reality is he's a 30-year-old running back already dealing with injuries. Hard to value that too highly. Najee Harris is the definition of mid with no contract beyond this year. And Nick Chubb is coming back from a gruesome ACL tear. That knee was completely destroyed, and it's the same knee that was destroyed in college. I'd have low expectations for him this year, but we just want to see him be 60% of what he used to be. That would be exciting at this point. All right. In the last tier we'll talk about really quickly, Tajay Spears did not get the role that the Tajay clan wanted him to get. Marshawn Lloyd, haven't really seen Marshawn Lloyd released, right? I mean, been dealing with so many injuries, can't stay healthy. It's kind of Kendre Miller 2.0, which, you know, a little bit of foreshadowing. We're going to talk about Zach Charbonnet and Kendre Miller next. Charbonnet, you saw how good he could be as a starter. The issue is he's not a starter. And Kendre Miller, a player I still believe in, younger than Blake Corum, younger than almost every rookie running back in this most recent class. And let's see what he can do, hopefully remaining healthy rest of the season. Rashawn Johnson, you know, he's just kind of an average player, if we're honest with ourselves. And he's never going to play above DeAndre Swift, at least not at the moment. It doesn't look that way. Rico Dowdle. I think a lot of people are going to be annoyed to have Rico Dowdle this low. But in my humble opinion, and I could be wrong, I just don't see Rico Dowdle being the long-term running back for the Dallas Cowboys. This is a replaceable level talent. He's the definition of a replaceable level talent. So I don't see why we would be valuing him much higher than this. He's nowhere near a second-round pick, in my humble opinion. I feel like next year's class is very good, and I don't see why the Cowboys wouldn't address running back here soon. Kamani Vidal is the next name we'll talk about. We only really just saw Kamani Vidal in his first ever action this week, and obviously catches the big touchdown. I think he will have a much larger role for the rest of the season. He gives this Chargers offense something that Gus Edwards can't, and the great thing about Kamani Vidal is seeing him already being used indicates to us if J.K. Dobbins goes down with an injury, you've got an automatic start. Austin Eckler, I have this low, doesn't have a long-term contract, looks great, but an aging player. Devin Singletary, you know, an average replaceable level player, now being outplayed by Tyrone. What will his role be? Zach Moss, same thing with Chase Brown. And then Audric Estime is a really fun name to talk about here at the end, a guy that should be stashed, and we'll see what he can be long-term. But, you know, at the moment, it's just a disgusting backfield in Denver. So that's pretty much it for today. I mean, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Do me a favor, hit that like button to show some love. Subscribe if you like the content. Last thing I'll say is we are doing team reviews here on the Dynasty channel. If you haven't got your team reviewed, consider becoming a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND, L-A-N-D. You can check out the pinned comment. There's 2 ways to get your team reviewed: with the a la carte store, regardless of what code you used, or by becoming a yearly member, you get 1 complimentary. And last thing I'll say is, if you don't have an account on the Flock Fantasy site just yet, go check it out. Use the promo code LAND, create an account, and you can actually get a couple features for free, like expert consensus rankings, the league analyzer, all those kind of things. Some pretty cool tools that you get for free. I appreciate you guys hanging out, watching the video. I'll see you soon. I'm trying to do about 1 Dynasty video per week. And yeah, let me know what you guys want, what you want to see. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.